Okay, so this is a couple questions going over 2.05. And actually, this video is going to be really short because once you know what to do, the questions will be pretty simple for you. So the first question is, given that 3, 5 is on the graph of f of x, find the corresponding point for the function f of x minus 3. So really what this minus 3 does, and it's kind of weird when it's inside the parentheses, but when we have minus a number inside of the parentheses, that means we are going to move to the right 3 units on our graph. So that means we're going to add 3 units to our x. So add 3 to x value. And our x value is positive 3. I'm going to just put that in like red. So now we have 3, and then we're going to add 3 because we're going to the right on our graph. It looks weird because we're subtracting, but we're actually going to add 3. And when it's inside, we're always going to do, when it's inside the parentheses, we're going to do the opposite. And I'll show you a couple more examples here in just a second. But 3 plus 3 is 6. So our answer here is going to be 6, 5. Okay. Looks kind of weird, but that's okay. I'm going to actually move this up a little bit. And that's our final answer. So these problems don't take too long, which is nice. But I have a couple examples down here, and I'm going to tell you what to do. And if you screenshot these 5 examples down here, they'll really be helpful for you for the rest of this quiz. Let's see, let me do that again. I'm going to move that down just a little bit. So there we go. Okay, so our first one is we have f of x minus 1. So just like that minus 3, we're moving this over 1 unit to the right. So we're going to go right 1 unit for the x value. So add 1 to x. Make that look like a 1. So whenever we have something inside the parentheses, we are going to do the opposite. So instead of minus 1, we're going to add 1 just to the x value. So down here, we have plus 1, which means we're going to do the opposite and go left 1 unit. Make these ones better. For the x value, which means we're going to subtract 1 from x. Okay. So when it's inside the parentheses, we're doing the opposite. But when it's on the outside of the parentheses, like the next one, we have f of x, and then that plus 1 is on the outside. That means we are going to go up 1 unit for the y value, which means we add 1 to y. Okay. So when it's outside the parentheses, it makes more sense. Plus 1 means we're going up 1. We're not doing the opposite when it's on the outside of the parentheses. So down here, we have f of x minus 1, which means we're going down 1 unit on the y. So we're subtracting 1 from y. And then if we have something on the inside of the parentheses, so like f of 5 times x, so we're multiplying here, do purple. It's 5 times x. Again, because it's on the inside of the parentheses, we're going to do the opposite, and we're going to actually multiply by 1 over 5. Because if we think about it, 5 is just 5 over 1. So if we flip it, it's going to be 1 over 5. And you can think of it as dividing by 5, but I'll show you in the next one we have a fraction. It's just easier to think of like flipping it. So this is going to be multiply by 1/5 times the x value. So we're just multiplying by 1/5 times the x. So when it's inside the parentheses, we're focusing on our x value. When it's on the outside of the parentheses, we're focusing on our y value. Just kind of your rule of thumb. So let's do one more example, because I think these 5, if you want to screenshot that, will just really help you figure out most of these problems. Okay, so the last problem down here is given that -3, 3 is on the graph f of x, find the corresponding point for the function f of 3 divided by 4x, or 3/4 x. So here is why I kind of like to think of it as flipping your fraction, like we did up here. Like instead of 5 or 5/1, we flipped it and made it 1/5. So it makes more sense when we have these fractions here. So what we're going to do is inside the parentheses, we're going to focus on the x, and our x is -3. So I'm just going to highlight this. We want to focus on that one. So -3. And we're going to, and if you want to do it like this, it's technically 3/1 or -3/1. And we're going to multiply it by the opposite of 3/4, which is 4/3. Now there's a couple ways you can multiply fractions. There's the fast way. I'll show you both. And the fast way is the 3's cancel out, and that kind of makes this a -1. And then you want to multiply your numerators. So -3, or I'm sorry, -1 now times 4, which is -4. Divided by, we canceled out this 3. That made it a 1. So divided by 1 times 1, which is 1. -4 divided by 1 is -4. So our answer is -4, +3, because that's what our y value was here. I'll show you how to multiply it another way. If you're not familiar with like canceling out like terms, we can do -3/1 times 4/3. And then you just multiply your numerators like we did just a second ago. So -3 times 4 is -12. And then on the bottom, 1 times 3 is 3. Let's see, equals 3. And then -12 divided by 3 is -4. And then, hey, we got our answer back, -4, 3. And that's our answer. So hopefully that helps you with the rest of this quiz. Really, it's going back to looking at these 5 rules and being able to like follow the pattern there. But good luck.